Welcome to the Flex Forward podcast, where grit meets growth. With your host, Nic Espanet, bringing you stories of resilience, reinvention, and the real climb to success.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Flex Forward podcast. Today, we're joined by Brady Stevenson. Brady is a head of talent acquisition at Virta Health. We'll let him give you a little more detail on that here in a second. But Brady, welcome to the Flex Forward podcast. I'm excited to hear what you kind of your journey and what you've been able to achieve. Can you give our listeners a little snapshot of what it is that you do and with your job?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work at Virta Health. What Virta Health does is we're the leader in reversing metabolic disease, and we use individualized nutrition to do that. And our mission as a company is to reverse metabolic disease in 1 billion people. I am the head of talent acquisition at Virta Health. I've been here a little over 8 years now, so quite a long journey. I joined when the company was about 50 people after our Series A round of funding, and the company is now just over 1,000 people. So a lot of growth, which has been really fun.
That's awesome. Now, where are you based out of?
Based in Austin, Texas.
Okay. I'm in Fort Worth, so just up the road a little bit. Well, that's
Nice.
awesome. And I think that's great. So you guys focus on reversing it more with diet and activities more than just medicine, like a
Yeah,
pill or a
absolutely. It's a
shot.
very nutrition first approach. We specifically focus on reversing type 2 diabetes and obesity, but we also have product lines that help get people off of GLP-1s while still seeing the same positive effects of GLP-1s, but doing it all through nutrition. And we know that our approach works for a lot of other metabolic diseases, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, and many other things, but we're mostly focused on reversing type 2 diabetes and obesity.
That's awesome. My wife and I follow more like Eastern medicine. I don't know what you call it, more that we want to try to go down the path of trying to cure things through diet, reducing inflammation,
Yeah.
cold plunge, just a whole bunch of other things that are out there. Ultimately, if you have to take the medicine, we would do it, but we think trying to um, exhaust all other avenues first is much better. Because what I see with a pill, if somebody takes a pill for one thing, it's going to tweak. The pill doesn't just target diabetes. It's going to affect all the other hormones and things
Yeah.
going on in your body. So you're next thing you know, you're on a pill for another side effect of the original pill, and it just keeps kind of snowballs from there. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Definitely keep you guys in mind if we ever get to a point where we need something like that. So in the healthcare or longevity or health mindset, there's a lot of different competition out there. What is something that sets you guys apart from other providers?
Yeah, I mean, it is 100% our outcomes and also how we operate our business. So we are a fee for outcomes business, meaning we don't get paid unless our members get healthier and hit certain health milestones. The rest of healthcare is fee for service. So you're going to pay no matter what happens, whether you get better, whether you get worse, whether you have to amputate a limb as a result, like no matter what, you're going to pay. Our customers, they only pay when their employees and their members actually see health outcomes. So our incentives as a, for-profit business are just super aligned with just making our members as healthy as we possibly can.
Well, and that's awesome because you obviously have confidence that you're going to help people. Because if not, you're going to be doing a lot of work for no fee. So
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the cool things is that has been our competitive moat is because we put our fees at risk and we have such incredible outcomes, it's really hard to replicate what we do. And in fact, no one else has because they can't get the outcomes as strong as we do. So for example, when we are treating members who have type 2 diabetes, 87% of our members reduce or stop their medications like insulin within the first 10 weeks. So that is just a, blanket deprescription of drugs that is happening very, very fast. And that's kind of unheard of in the space.
Yeah, if we could get insurance providers to buy into that, I mean, that's got to make cost more now, but
Mhm.
I don't know how long somebody's on insulin, maybe 10, 5, 10, 20 years of, an
Yeah.
insurance company paying for that. If you can get somebody to do some lifestyle changes and diet changes, I mean, that's awesome. Now, are you guys, said you're based in Austin, and with 1,000 employees, are you guys just covering the Austin area? Or y'all have other locations?
So we have offices in San Francisco and Denver. Denver is actually where our headquarters is. We're a remote first company, so we actually employ
Okay.
people all over the country. So we have, I think, around 20 plus people in just the Austin area and even
Okay.
in Texas, but we are remote.
Okay. Mostly. Well, that's awesome that you, and so I, being in Fort Worth, could get on a telehealth, or I don't need to come into one of your offices to be treated.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, everything we do is remote. So we can treat members anywhere in the US. They get access to a provider, they get their health coach, they get any nurses. I mean, everything is done digitally, which is kind of another innovation, is you don't have to go into a doctor's office once a quarter to check on your vitals and get advice on if you're doing what you're doing is working or not working. It's you always have access to your provider team through an app, which also helps drive outcomes because we can just be so much more present in their life and help them make good decisions and see outcomes a lot faster.
That's awesome. Now, do you guys primarily treat people who already have diabetes, or y'all doing stuff trying to catch people on the front end to prevent them from, maybe more as treating healthy people, or you guys get them once they are already on insulin or some other kind of medication?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely go as far back as people with prediabetes. I mean, there's very clear A1C markers that will indicate kind of where someone is to being diabetic. And yeah, I mean, we not only want to help people who have type 2 diabetes reverse it, but we want to help you from getting it in the first place. So
Sure.
we treat people with prediabetes as well.
That's awesome. As you've kind of, looked on your LinkedIn, it looks like you've been in talent acquisition or recruiting for many, through your careers. What is something that you, as you've climbed and become more successful, something that you find easier that maybe others find challenging?
Interesting. I think one thing is doing the work that I do at the types of companies that I do it for, which is typically high growth, technology enabled companies, you have to be really, really adaptable and flexible on the way that you operate and do things. For example, I've been at Virta Health for 8 years. The company that I joined when we were 50 employees, that company does not exist. We
Sure.
operate completely differently. The things that we find important are different. How work is done is different. And that has happened 3 or 4 times over the course of my 8 years here. When we were 50 employees, we did things one way. When we became 200 employees, it feels very different and work is different.
Mhm.
And then, at like 600, it kind of happened again. So all these inflection points, if you want to be at a high growth company, which I really enjoy, is you just have to be really adaptable and flexible and willing to, uh, you know, hold strong beliefs loosely because the way that you're doing things now is not necessarily how you're going to do things in the future. And I think people can struggle with that when working at a growth company.
No, that's good stuff because I'm just thinking about it going from 50 to 1,000, 20x increase in employees. You get at 50, you probably know every single person by name
Yeah.
and quickly, but at 1,000, especially scattered across halfway across the country, in your offices, you you likely wouldn't recognize at least a handful of employees if you cross them on the street. So it's running things quite a bit different at those two different levels.
Yeah, definitely. And the things that I was really good at when we joined at 50 employees aren't necessarily the things I need to be really good at
Mm.
now. My job has had to evolve and the scope has changed and all of these things. And so, yeah, I find it to be a very fun, challenging journey. It just keeps me on my toes. And people who like that tend to do well at growth companies, but it's definitely not for everyone.
It's a niche. Well, that's awesome. So if someone's listening and wants to get better at, either professionally or health, do you have any things you like to suggest, podcasts, books, anything that you've done to for self-improvement or work improvement?
Yeah, I think one thing that has helped me is observing other leaders who I think are really good at what they do, both within my company and also just leaders in general in, corporate America. Finding people that you think are excellent at what they do and just learning more about how they do it. It could be, I'm just speaking off the cuff, like someone like Tim Ferriss or Michelle Obama or whoever it is that you think is really amazing, they are very willing to share how they got there, and you can learn so much by observing excellence
Sure.
and bringing in the pieces that you feel are relevant to yourself. So I spend a lot of time in my journey at Virta looking at other leaders in the company and the people who were doing well and progressing the way that I wanted to progress and taking just bits and pieces of what I thought they were doing that was really valuable that could apply to my situation.
That's good stuff. That saying is success leaves clues. So, I mean, if somebody's already gone along that path, follow
Mhm.
their breadcrumbs that they're leaving, or, either through reading biographies or, watching listening, watching a podcast with them on it, or, different
Mhm.
interviews. I think that, or having a mentor, if there's a mentorship program with whatever pursuit you're trying, I think that way you may still make a few mistakes, but you're going to eliminate a lot of mistakes that if you're following somebody that's already been down that path or a similar path.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's a couple like domain specific podcasts I listen to where talent acquisition leaders go on and they talk about what they're doing. And that is very like, specific to me. But, whatever you're doing, there's probably a similar podcast where you can just talk to or learn from other leaders and people who have been successful in the space.
Yeah, I mean today TED Talks to Khan Academy to podcasts. Whatever, almost any path you're trying to go down right now, almost guarantee you can find somebody who's already done it and listen to their path and learn from their mistakes. That's awesome. Speaking of mistakes, what's one of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome in your career journey?
Yeah. What comes to mind most immediately is, working at growth companies and having to reinvent myself over and over again as the company changes and my role changes, um, has been ultimately deciding what I want to do and what I feel like I am best at and drawing the line there. If I follow just where the role is going, I can end up doing things that maybe I don't enjoy or that I actually want to get good at. And there was definitely a point at Virta Health where it was getting very uncomfortable because the things I was best at and enjoyed the most were not the things that I needed to do moving forward if I wanted to continue to progress. And if I wanted to have the impact at my company that I wanted to have, I needed, frankly, a pretty different skill set than what I was already comfortable with. And I struggled with that. I struggled with that for about a year, kind of thinking about, do I want to make this jump? Can I even do this jump? Am I good enough to do it? Like, there's definitely, a bit of imposter syndrome there where it's like, oh, well, I'm just like so good at this. I've been doing it for so long. Like, how could I possibly be good at that? And just a lot of, thinking about where I want to take my career. I mean, for me, career is so important and I want to be very deliberate about it. But there was that 1 year period where I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue down the path that I was being led down. It led to a lot of stress. I wasn't as good at my job as
Right.
I had previously been. And frankly, just a lot of soul searching to figure out, where I wanted to go. And I did make the decision to take that leap and go down that path. And that has been working well. It has been really challenging in a number of different ways, but ultimately, I have loved that challenge. I mean, that's kind of why I do what I do. But that was like a very distinct part of my career where I wasn't really sure what I was going to do next. And I've had a pretty clear path up till then, so that was uncomfortable for me.
That when it's awesome you came through that. I think sometimes those challenges like that or those little growth moments that kind of like you get in a crucible or a little pressure and coming out of it, having to think through it can grow you too. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. We try to talk within our group of investors or and then even with my kids, like, hey, a challenge or a failure is not necessarily a bad thing. It's
Hmm.
how you respond to it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
may set you back a little bit, but are you going to get up and dust yourself off and keep trying? Use the a story of Thomas Edison failing with a filament like 10,000 times or some crazy number
Yeah.
that he didn't fail. He just eliminated things that didn't work until he found one that was successful. And where
Yeah.
Michael Jordan shooting thousands of winning shots that he didn't make, but he made a bunch of them too. So
Yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
awesome.
And one thing I thought about is a long time ago, I read this book called The Alchemist, and I think about it a lot. And the main takeaway for me was if I make this leap and it doesn't work out, I can still go back to what I was doing previously. And so it's not an irreversible decision. And for me, it is important to identify what type of decision I am making. And ultimately, this one was not an irreversible one. There was always the option if I tried it for a year and wanted to come back to what I was doing, that would have been totally okay. And it made the risk less risky.
Sure. That makes it definitely makes it a little easier. What
Yeah.
awesome. Well, it sounds like things are going well in your business, and a lot of people, let's say, start looking to the future, think about how they can create passive income to
Mhm.
even supplement or replace their current income. What are your thoughts on passive income?
Yeah. I don't have much experience with it. I mean, my career has been my career. I haven't done any side things, but I mean, I definitely see the value in it. And if I had either the time or insight on it, I would possibly be interested, but it just hasn't really been a focus for me.
Awesome. No, it's definitely when you hit some people who start hitting that point where can they start creating some mailbox money is nice. So,
Mhm.
as we're wrapping up the interview, do you have any exciting plans or initiatives in the works for the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, personally, having another baby, so
Oh,
we're having a
congratulations.
second child, so that will be my next big challenge in life. And then in terms of professionally, I mean, next year is going to be a really big year for growth for Virta. And that obviously comes through to me leading the talent acquisition function. So we have a lot of exciting things to help us figure out how to hire better quality people and really closing the link between performance on the job and the interview process and making the interview process more predictive of who is going to do well in the role. So a lot of stuff happening there that I'm really excited about.
That's awesome. Well, Brady, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your tips and insights. If people would like to get in touch with you to learn more about you or your company, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Best way to reach me is email. So my email is just brady@virtahealth.com, Brady @virtahealth.com.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Brady, I really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit and hearing about your journey. Everyone remember to like and share this episode and keep tuning into the Flex Forward podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Flex Forward podcast. If you've got grit, growth, and a great story, visit flexforwardpodcast.com/guest to apply and join us on the show.